Hey, everybody, and welcome back to 1v1 Podcast. I'm your host, Vlhadus. And before I introduce my guest real quick, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been supporting my channel and recently subscribing. It's been such an outpouring of support for my videos. I really cannot thank you guys enough. And just to put it out there that if you want to have a 1v1 with me, just message me on Discord. I'll put my Discord hashtag in the bottom of the description of this video. So if you want to ever talk with me about Ashes or about MMOs in general, go ahead and hit me up. But right now, I got a great guest for you guys, and his name is Goalid. How are you doing today, bro?
Pretty awesome. It's been a good day.
Great, man. And honestly, you guys might know this dude because he posts on the forums in a very articulate and an intellectual way that brings awesome freaking information. And honestly, Goalid, we need people like you in Alpha 2 and honestly in MMOs in general, because I feel like with how you bring your information, it's just so concise. Like, I mean, usually I always start by getting to know you as a person, but I just want to start off by just saying this, like, what's your process like when you go into like these really in-depth articles?
Well, a lot of it's just an obsession with the game of the idea of Ashes of Creation. So that's where the willpower comes from.
For sure.
The thinking is just I want to be as accurate as possible. So I use whatever tools I have, whether that be some like models that I could think of or some math I've learned in college and stuff like that. So, or the books I read to try to make sure my posts are as accurate as possible. So that's that's how they get created.
Well, honestly,
they're all poorly written though. You give me too much credit. I need to become a better writer.
I mean, I think you know, I could be better written for my scripts and my videos too. I mean, but I honestly like reading just as a layman, like, you know, I mean, man, like some of these things really go in depth with like the corruption system, the numerical values. Were you a tester for Alpha 1, Goalid?
I was. I tested Alpha 1 a lot, actually. I'd say I've put in 100 hours into Alpha 1.
That's awesome.
A bit more through spot tests. I had a lot of fun in Alpha 1, and I met a lot of people. I remember actually during the spot tests, they wouldn't let us. They wouldn't tell us they were going to spot test until a couple hours before, actually, sometimes, because and Steven's philosophy with that was, well, I have spot tests based off what my engineers need, not based off of the convenience for Alpha 1 holders.
Right.
So I would remember I'd have work that day and I'd be like, I have to get off work right now. I have to run home. I have to get on my computer. Got to represent the guild. I've got to
that's right.
Have as much fun as possible. And you know, I did. And it was a great experience.
So I see the dragons. I just want to ask, like, what guild are you part of for Ashes of Creation?
Overlord.
Overlord.
Yeah, we're a guild that's going for server firsts, or
server second. Right.
For first.
No, I'm just joking. Well, hopefully, like I'm hoping that, you know, me and you, or your guild and our guild Axiom, can be in the same server. So you know, that would be really awesome, because I know there's going to be a lot of, not mega guilds, but I always love those kind of connections that are made, especially in Ashes. But to sort of backtrack just a little bit, I really want to go into you as a gamer first, because I always like to, you know, kind of get to know my guests a little bit, right? You know, for me, if you see any of my 1v1s, I'm a huge WoW guy. I've been a WoW guy for 15 years. I played that game intensively. But for you, like, how did you get started in your MMO career? Like, what game did you get started with?
This would have been many years ago when I was much younger, with RuneScape, and I was never a I would say competitive RuneScaper, or someone who's playing thousands upon thousands of hours of RuneScape, but that was my first experience with MMOs. My second was MapleStory, which was a incredibly grindy Korean PvE only MMO, which was a side scroller, and I used to play that a lot with friends at school, and I remember I grinded more than most people, but when I hit like around 60 or 70, I was just looking at how much it would take to, because you could get to level 200 in MapleStory, and that I think would probably take you something like 20,000 hours. If I was gonna run the map. This is pre I think Big Bang update, but it was a lot. So when the first person eventually hit I guess regional first, not world first, because
Right.
I think it opened up in Korea much sooner than it did in North America. I mean, it was a big deal. I mean
Right.
that was a crazy world first for that person to get a forget what their name was, but and everybody paid attention to that race, so that
Right.
got me interested, and maybe one day if I have the time to wanna, I'm not going for world first and leveling, but I would love to. I always wanted to be in a guild that was competitive in that manner.
Right.
So
No,
yeah.
I totally get you, man. I mean, especially for Ashes, the one thing I love about what Steven wants to do is really have this exclusivity. And, in my most recent video for the top 5 things you might hate about Ashes, there's a lot of people that don't like exclusivity because they feel left out. But again, I think we've almost been conditioned to always receive a participation trophy for everybody to feel like you're this most unique person. But when everybody is unique, no one is, and I feel like with Ashes, we're getting back to that time, at least. Did you ever play any of the mainstream MMOs like World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, ESO, Star Wars, or any of those?
I didn't play any of those actually. More recently, I've played Arcade, New World. I've been playing a little bit of Lineage 2,
Right.
just to get some hands-on experience with MMOs that have influenced Steven,
Right.
just to be competitive with my guild on our server as much as we possibly want to.
No, for sure. And I think, because I'm going to make a WoW reference, you may not understand it, but basically, back in the day, there's like, categories of gear, right? So there's like common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. And, back in the day, when I first started playing WoW, it was really awesome to see people in epics. Like, because most of the plebs would be in all rares or maybe one epic here. And it's like this, but when you see a person in all in tier gear from a raid, it was very impressive. But now, like, everybody's in raid tier, everybody's in gear, and it's just, it's not impressive anymore. And everything just looks so carbon copied. I mean, look at Lost Ark, for an example. I don't know if you've seen Lost Ark, but everything just feels so manufactured and carbon copied over and over. And I don't know, like, I want to feel like a cogwheel in a big machine. And I feel like that's what I love about guilds, but a lot of guilds that are facilitated in most MMOs now are just, raiding tools. It's not even really anything else. Like with Ashes, with the caravan system, with the node system, like all these other interconnected systems, guilds are going to be very important. And I'm just glad for, again, the exclusivity to be there, and also to be a cogwheel and to have group play back in MMOs, because everything's done just so much single player. Like, what do you think about that?
I think that people want to feel that they have an effect on the game in the MMO. And there are 2 ways to do that. One is to create a story where they're the savior of the world and to give them the best gear that everybody else has, and
Right.
let them do the if they put in minimal efforts, when I say minimal effort, it's still some degree of effort, like hundreds of hours, but
Right.
they are able to do all the contents, they're able to complete everything, they see everything, and there's no mystery to that. There's no, gosh, I wish I was the person who has that legendary. I wish I was in that guild that got that guild castle.
Right.
So I think that with Ashes, it's very interesting because no matter how much you put into Ashes, you'll have an effect on the world. You'll have an effect on your local node, or if that's, if you're more casual and you want to put yourself in, for instance, like a level 3 node, you can have a big effect in that node for like the mayorship, or for like voting, for the politics, or if the caravans from there. And if you're someone who's no life in the game and putting thousands of hours into the game in the first 4 months,
No, for sure.
6 months, then you'll feel that you've had an impact on a larger scale. I think you'll still have that same feeling as the lower player, but that, the players that aren't as competitive and aren't putting in as much time, they'll have that feeling of, wow, that person has that legendary, and that they have that relic in that node, and
Mhm.
that's going to motivate me to play more.
Right.
In Ashes, unlike some other games, I think it'll be more achievable than some extremely grindy Korean MMOs where it's not as achievable. But I really want that sense of striving for something, though. And I think in Ashes we're gonna have that, and it's gonna take an actual effort. It's not just gonna be handed to you. You're gonna have to do a lot of things. You're gonna have to play the economy right. You're gonna have to organize with your guild properly. And I think that's what we all want, basically.
No, I agree. I think, you know, the other thing about it too is that most of the things you can achieve in game can all be done solo in most MMOs. So facilitating outside of raiding, right? People aren't used to grouping up for any other form of activity. You know, like dungeons and raids are a given. But like, you know, with the castle node sieges, with the caravan system, like I said,
well, even in dungeons and raids, there's dungeon finders. So even then, you don't have to talk to people as much nowadays.
Well, yeah, no, for sure. And again, like I just feel like when it comes to Ashes, there's going to be so many huge differences with Ashes compared to a lot of MMOs. That's why I always tell my friends that this isn't going to be your typical MMO. Like Ashes has a completely different path forward, not just for leveling, because the node system literally changes everything. Like, and anything you can potentially do and alter what you may do on a given day. So I just want to ask you specifically, like when it comes to your Alpha 1 testing, like what did you feel like was really good, really solid, and what did you feel like still needs like work?
I liked the amount of feedback that we gave, and I really liked the
right.
I really like the community managers, and that I think Toast and Margaret did a lot for us. The multiple times there were things bugged out on the server that required a server reset, and they would take time out of their day to do that when they didn't have to, and it made me feel that they actually cared about our experience and wanted to help us play so we could test the game and report bugs.
Oh, for sure.
But the game has a lot of work. It didn't have the major systems. Even when leveling up nodes to level 3, if there was a server reset, actually, then we would constantly lose all of the buildings inside of the nodes that would let us craft epic gear and legendary gear.
Right.
Legendary gear was actually bugged the entire time. You could only craft a legendary belt because there was a stacking issue. So you would have these dragon scales you would use to craft the legendary gear, and sometimes it would require 2 dragon ingots, but because they weren't stacking in the inventory, you can only craft something with 1 dragon ingot, which was just a belt. So they have a lot to work on, but you know, it was a beautiful world, good times, good interactions with the community moderators, but I think it's going to translate to the game moderators when the game eventually releases and in Alpha 2.
Right. What did you feel about the combat? I know combat was like a huge thing for people, and the one thing I loved as an outside perspective was actually, you know, people saying this root motion stuff was garbage, and then they ended up like within a week, like, all right, now you can toggle between root motion and split body. Like, I thought that was huge because I come from World of Warcraft where the developers completely neglect you. Like, they don't talk to you. You know, any feedback you give them, they don't care. They'll put it in whenever they deem worthy. And it was just so refreshing to see this really speedy back and forth between the developers and the players in their feedback.
There's 2 points to the Alpha 1 combat. If you frequent the Ashes Discord a lot, I think Talent's made a good point that we only got to level 15, so we didn't really get to see how that combat would feel once we got all the way to level 50.
Correct.
So I can tell you that it was fun as a mage, it was brutal as a tank, and because I played all the classes, and as cleric you were overpowered, so you're just enjoying your overpowered status.
Right.
The other point of that is that it is true that they switched from root motion to free body motion, but I still think that they might have just gone a little too quickly. In New World, if you're played with Great Axe or anything, you have root motion. Like, you have to move forward. You can change the direction a bit, I believe. I've just been playing New World, but I had to actually check to see if I could actually change the direction I'm swinging as I'm swinging.
Right.
But it felt good in New World, and it felt good in BDO according to a lot of people. There's a lot of rooted motion, but BDO is very fast paced, so
right.
it felt very good. And I don't think that they should just go completely away from that. An idea I had is they should have heavy attacks rooted, but have your quick attacks with free body. I don't know if they'll have heavy attacks or not, but I think that there is room for improvements. And just because a lot of the community tells them that something's wrong, we don't know what we want,
Right.
If you talk to us, a lot of us want to be able to have completely open world PvP, but none of us can ever be ganked.
Right. And we want all these little exceptions,
Yeah.
We want all this,
Yeah.
but wait, we want to be safe.
Yeah.
We want this. We want toggleable stuff. We want PvE servers. But I mean, as well as I do, PvE servers would completely go against the vision of Ashes of Creation. I mean, there wouldn't be systems that are going to be worth anything. Like in a PvE server, what would be the point of the caravan system? Like, I mean, yes, you can transport stuff, but I mean, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think they're talking about open world PvP, but still, I think that there's important parts of the world, such as very rare gatherables or hunting grounds with very exclusive mobs that you want to be able to, in your 2 hours that you're playing, or 2 hours that you get everybody on, you want to be the ones farming that grinding spot, that hunting grounds. You don't want anyone else to, and so you need open world PvP to allow people to fight over these things naturally. And there's just so many good experiences that come with open world PvP,
Right.
so many good memories. The one thing that we can tell PvEers is that there's a huge disincentive to just mindlessly killing people in the world, which is the corruption system. It's basically just not worth it, and so you won't be griefed, and you can be free to have a play style that is essentially PvE and not have to worry about being ganked or bullied and spawn camped.
Right. And I do want to talk to you about, my worry on paper is not really being griefed, but more of the death penalty, because there are some pretty severe penalties that come with dying. And so I just want to talk to you about that a little bit. So I think death is way too punishing. I also feel that death for a non-combatant is also very punishing. So let's talk about that real quick. Like, first of all, where do you stand on it being punishing, not too punishing, or not punishing at all?
So if I recall your video and look into my corruption equations, the penalty for dying is you get lower stats.
Yeah. Skill and stat dampening. Experience stat. Yeah. The monster drop chance is decreased.
Tables, decrease.
Right.
You take a gear hit, your items get degraded. Degraded. Yeah. So I think that's 4, and those all sound like, wow, we have all these penalties. This is so worrying. But I think Bartek made a good point that on, I think, their last show, and his point was, we don't know the weights of all of these. All of them could be very low. So it could be, so in Alpha 1, I think that you would get something like 20% experience lost
on your very first death.
Yep, 10 or 20%. And and that in Alpha 1, if you died like 6 times, it might, you were at a high level, because you got to remember, higher levels, more experience, and it was the same 20% no matter what. So if you were like level 10 and you died 6 times, that would be like, okay, I have to level all the way to level 10 again. So it might not be worth it to continue leveling. You might have to reroll a character. But I don't expect that in Ashes of Creation, given what Steven has said in the past, comparing Ashes to Lineage 2. He's said that he doesn't want it to be as punishing a penalty as that. So I think when Alpha 2 gets launched, we'll have something more like a 2% XP debt or a 3% XP debt upon death, and then your items will take like a 2% hit. for dying, and I think there'll be some gradual item decay over time as well if you just use items regularly.
Right.
And then your loot tables will drop, but it'll be like a 1% chance slower that you get an item.
Right.
And then as you get more and more experience, that if you don't grind it off or you die while corrupted, then it scales a lot higher. So you're encouraged to grind off your experience debt early, and I wouldn't think that I know for a fact that if people complained about this a lot in the Alpha 2, they would harshly nerf the penalties to dying. Well, I don't know that, but I assume that.
No, for sure. And so, like, for me, I kind of think, do you think there should be like a diminishing return? Or not a diminishing, but like a reverse diminishing. So like, as an example, like your first death for the day is like a mulligan. There's nothing that happens to you. You basically, or you get very, very, like maybe 1 or 2 penalties.
Exponential returns, you must mean.
Yes. So basically, in a nutshell, like, but then if you die again, there's more penalties that occur, and then you die again, there's more, like, so it just keeps getting worse and worse the more you die. Like, that's one way, or just have it to be a very minimal penalty every single time. Like, I don't know what people would prefer in that sense.
The system I would do, just off the top of my head, is that if you have 3% experience debt because you died once, then you get very minimal penalties on anything else. You get 6%, then you start to get your the loot to drop. If you get to like 12% or something, which would if you die corrupted, you receive 4 times the amount of penalties than you would have if you had died as a non-combatant. If you get to 12%, then you're getting huge penalties, and now you have to grind off a lot of that experience debt from dying. Right. So I would basically have your system. I think that would work a lot, and have tiers to penalties on the amount of experience that you have.
Right. And so the other thing I'm curious about, because I didn't know, because I didn't play Alpha 1, is there like a debuff? Like, so like when you die, is there like a 10-minute debuff counter, like for your stat dampening, and for like how does that work? Or how did it work in Alpha 1?
So in the Alpha 1, it was very bare bones. They didn't really have the corruption system at all fleshed out in Alpha 1. They just had, if you would go red, and if you die, you dropped all your materials. You never dropped processed goods or equipped items, even if you were corrupt. So a lot of this is very bare bones. They didn't have lower loot drops, or they didn't have item decay or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
So in the Alpha 1, I can't tell you because we didn't have it.
Oh wow. Okay. Because I'm just really curious to see how it works. I know in World of Warcraft, if you die and take res sickness, it's a 10-minute debuff, and you're like, you have 50% durability loss, and also your stats are cut in half by 50%. So after the 10-minute debuff, it goes away, and then your health goes back to normal, and everything kind of goes back to normal. So I didn't know if there was like a sort of like a stacking debuff that happened like every time you died. And I'm surely speaking as a non-corrupted player, just an average Joe leveling the world and, dying to monsters. Because I think, to me, like, I don't like the principle of XP debt, personally. I don't mind XP debt, and I don't think I would mind XP debt when it comes to player versus player deaths. But what I do mind, especially for me as a raiding background and being a raider in World of Warcraft, is dying to mobs and getting an experience debt. That to me just doesn't feel right. And I know the game's going to be very group based. Like, you may not die a lot when it comes to leveling, if you're leveling with the group and stuff like that. But I think at its core principle, like, why? Like I said, there's already enough penalties, enough as it is. Like, why also add XP debt?
The argument would be that when there's a risk, you change your behavior. So I think
I agree with that.
There's a certain theory in economics about this, that for instance, if you removed people's seatbelts and put like a spike on a person's steering wheel that was pointed directly at their chest, everybody would drive 5 miles per hour. Nobody would drive fast.
Right.
So when you have penalties to death, it changes your behavior. Now you're being more careful. Now you're paying attention to the world more. Now you don't want to, you really don't want to die. And that creates a degree of immersion with your character. You feel bad when your character dies. It's not just, whatever.
Well, whatever.
But I would agree with you for raids. I don't want someone to have to take like a 30-minute break or like a 20-minute break if they wipe on a raid, because that's the point of raids. You're gonna die a lot. But like a 5-minute break or a 10-minute break, I don't know, seems fine to me. Like some little time break where people are like, ah shit, but you're not kicking people out of the raid because, well, we can't have this guy in the raid because he's wasting our time.
Or his death, he died so many times that he's kind of like not valuable anymore, you know what I mean? And so like that's where I think at least in my mind, there needs to be separate punishments for PvE content and PvP content. And again, maybe we can flesh that out in Alpha 2. But like, so I just to kind of go back into Alpha 1, like what did you find about the siege, like the castle sieges and the node sieges? Like, because I know that was the prime time content that people were doing in Ashes of Creation was those. So I'm really curious to see like what you thought of that.
I actually had more fun in Alpha 1 sieges than I've ever had in a New World War.
Really?
Quite surprising. Yeah, really. I think it has to do with like the objectives are more interesting. You're trying to break into the castle. You're trying to break down the walls, and the walls matter a lot and they have a lot of HP. Whereas in New World, it's more about taking some control points out, like on like an open field. Just doesn't feel as good to me. For the sieges, I really liked that the siege equipment was important. I thought the ballistas weren't important enough. I thought the ballistas need to be buffed. The trebuchets did a good amount of damage, actually. I remember.
Yeah, they did. I saw a lot of people in the trebuchets.
I remember it was us and Virtue against Wood. Do you know Wood, the guild Wood?
I think I've seen them on the Discord.
So the background to the Wood Guild is that during Alpha 1, during a spot test, Steven had said something along the lines of, we're in trouble, we hope everything works as intended, knock on wood. So that created a huge meme in the Ashes of Creation Discord, and everybody started putting wood in front of their names in brackets, because that's what we do on the Ashes Discord. We put our guild in front of our brackets to signify that we're in a guild, to try to represent the guild and not be harassed by recruiters and stuff like that. So it was us and Virtue versus Wood. And I remember Wood, I got into a trebuchet and Wood neglected to to take down the trebuchet. So I spent like a solid 5 minutes just breaking down the main outer gates to the wall, the center one, and then I broke the main inner gate with the trebuchet, and then I tried to move in a bit to inside the city so I could hit the throne room gate, but the trebuchet dropped to the world, so that ended my door killing spree. But,
my god!
I really like that. I want the trebuchets to do damage to, for me, the walls themselves, not just the doors, but I want the siege equipment, the siege weapons to be very important, and then a lot of the fighting to be based off in the open field, defending the siege weapon, trying to destroy stuff. Something I didn't like was that you could zerg the door. So if you sent 20 people up against a door, you could just kind of bang against it with basic attacks and break down the door. I don't think you should be able to zerg it, especially since at that point in time, if somebody was right next to the door, it's kind of annoying to try to fight them on top of the wall. It didn't give you the best advantage, as for in real life you have a huge advantage and you have more points to put archers and stuff, and when you have towers next to the gates to prevent that. But anyway, I would say that it was a lot of fun. It's a good start for them, but they have a lot to work on with the sieges.
Do you think the lag was bad at all? Because I mean, just looking at footage, it didn't seem that bad at all.
So inside of the siege, there was barely any lag. Way better than New World again. It was
better
terrific.
than WoW.
Yeah,
Better than WoW.
yeah. So they really did a great job in that siege environment. The actual problem was in the open world, and unfortunately, we didn't get to see this more with PvP. With PvP, desync's always twice as worse as PvE because you're reacting to another player, which isn't created by the server. So now it's like two people, how their different pings and everything interacts with the server. So when they didn't allow us to PvP in Alpha 1, they allowed us in like the pre-alpha to PvP, but in the actual month-long test for Alpha 1, we only were allowed to PvP for about 3 days. And in those 3 days, we had major problems with desync in the open world. I remember dueling my friends a lot, getting my ass kicked, and and there'd be a lot of problems with desync that I hope that they're working towards fixing in the open world.
So when you say, because I'm trying to understand desync, so does that mean like the frame rates were really horrible, or was that it was the lag input to your button pushing?
Desync is I'm somewhere where I'm not on the actual server. So on my clients, I'm someplace, and that disagrees with where the server has me. So now I'm like teleporting to somewhere else, or somebody I'm fighting is teleporting to somewhere else because the server's saying they're not there, they're somewhere else. And what the client does is it tries to guess, like for like all the little bits, little seconds in between the information that's given from the client to the server. It tries to fill in, it tries to lie to you so that it gives you, okay, this person's here right now. And when it has wrong information, or it takes too much time and it has too many guesses, then you get these huge differing you get like people just teleporting or being someplace they're not.
I mean, so it's basically like
pretty annoying for PvP.
Sorry. No, it's okay. It's basically like if you were fighting somebody and your attack says it's ready, like you're good, but it's not because the server's like you're too far away. So it's like abilities were kind of not syncing up in that sense, right?
Yeah, there's a Kamehameha ability for the mages called the prismatic beam. Yeah,
right.
I just remember I'd be trying to prismatic beam somebody, and they would be like, instead of being right in front of me, they're to the right or to the left, and I'm not getting anywhere near as high damage as I'm trying to get as a mage.
Right.
So that was pretty frustrating.
So I kind of wanted to kind of go back again, because I forgot to ask you like what I always ask all my guests. How did you find out about Ashes of Creation? Because it seems like you were an Alpha 1, you were an alpha tester. That was really awesome. So like, just kind of tell me like how you heard about it.
So I was bored and I wanted to play an MMO.
Got you.
I wanted that feeling that I remembered that I had playing RuneScape and MapleStory. And I wanted to be competitive this time. So I was looking at what are some great new MMOs coming out. And then I saw Ashes of Creation, and now I'm addicted.
Oh my God. And so when was that?
This was about a year ago. Yep, exactly a year ago, actually. I'm fairly new to the Ashes of Creation scene, and I'm lucky, and everybody else is unfortunate because I didn't have to wait because I didn't know about it.
Wow.
So, you guys can keep your Kickstarter packages. I'll just be here happy playing the alphas and having spent 4 less years waiting for Ashes of Creation.
Wow. So you were able to like buy the pre-order pack for Alpha 1 to test it like in April or March of last year?
Yep. When they opened up the Alpha 1 tests again, I immediately purchased it within the first 5 seconds, yes.
Oh my God. And you see, for me, I heard about Ashes of Creation in 2020, July of 2020 more specifically, because that was when the Lazy Peon video came out. And I watch Goalid a lot, and he was reacting to the Lazy Peon video, and also got also had the opportunity to interview Steven right after he watched that video. So that was what really got me into Ashes. And just, again, like Steven's always been that kind of person where I always feel he's kind of like myself. He's super passionate. He's super invested in what he's doing. And I think anytime you meet a very passionate person, it really kind of rubs off. Like it really, I think anytime I've ever heard somebody who it almost ignites hope in them, it's because of Steven. Like it's not really because of someone else. It's because they heard him and they heard how passionate he was, but they also get that whole one of us, because he was an MMO player for the greater part of 20 years, longer than that probably, because he started back in 1992 in AOL playing $7, or he always says that story, so
$7 an hour or something.
Yeah, with Neverwinter or something like that.
Yeah, Steven gives us so much faith basically in the game, because at the end of the day, I think that Steven just wants to create a good MMO, doesn't care as much about profit, because I think pay to win probably is the most profitable method.
Oh, for sure.
For an MMO, but he doesn't care about that. Maybe somebody wants to release the game sooner, but he doesn't care, so they can see their profits sooner. So they want to see their investments give them a result sooner rather than later. And Steven doesn't care. So just that faith that Steven gives us by showing us his passion in the game and wanting to create a great game, I think that drives a lot of players that are interested in this game to stay interested in this game and hold on to the belief that this will come out and be one of the best MMOs of all time. And I think a game changer, looking at the character creator, that's a fantastic character creator. If they hold to that standard for every other system in the game, I don't care if you never played an MMO in your life, you'll probably see that and think, oh my gosh, I need to play that game. Look at the detail, look at that world, look at all the fun everybody's having, look at all the drama that's happening. I need to get in on that.
See, and that's the thing, like I've always kind of called this Ashes of Creation game the Game of Thrones MMO, because I'm telling you, bro, like you have no idea what is going to happen drama wise with this game. Like the drama is going to be juicy AF. Like I'm telling you, because just with how much like exclusionary items there are, how hard it is to do certain things with by yourself, you have to do them with groups, caravan runs that are going to have very prestigious materials in there, and there's going to be another guild that's going to catch wind, and then they're going to be like, hey, we need to go and get this caravan because they're holding these items that we really could use. So it's like I love that, because I haven't never played an MMO with this much intrigue that is all interconnected, interwoven into all of these systems. And I think that's what ultimately I feel Steven did on purpose, is he wanted it to be driven by the community and not by systems. He put the systems in place for the community to drive on. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I love about it, because it's so freeform in that sense, instead of being on rails compared to other ones.
Yeah, I think the drama and the politics is going to be one of the best parts of the game. My favorite board game is a game called Diplomacy, where everybody has the not really, but everybody's supposed to have the same initial advantages as everybody else. And the only way you can win is if you can convince somebody else to backstab somebody else with you. That's or team up with you. That's the only way.
Right.
So I'm excited to see that in Ashes of Creation, because a lot of it is going to be, well, this Metropolis node and Guild Castle is owned by this Zerg guild, and so there's a bunch of us smaller guilds, and we've been off somewhere else, building up power, getting involved in the economy, and now we think we're strong enough, so now we're going to siege them and take back our home and drive them out and try to destroy their Zerg. I think we're gonna see a lot of interesting drama with caravans. I really liked your video on was it a video on caravans?
Yeah.
Or now I remember you had the
Game of Thrones
yourself, and then you had another you had yourself, and then yourself with a different t-shirt and cap on.
That's right.
Just a little simulated drama that we can very tame compared to what's actually actually gonna see.
Right. But that's why I'm excited about it, because it's just, I feel like there's gonna be so many kind of like parlays between guilds that are gonna be, I think there's gonna be a lot of good-willed people that are gonna develop alliance communication and alliances. I really do. But I also feel there's gonna be people that you thought they had good intentions, but they were out to betray you from the get, like the little fingers of the world, you know what I mean? So, and that's what's going to make streaming this game so much fun compared to any other MMO that's out there. And I think people really don't understand that yet, I think once they see it in practice, and once they see like their big streamer saying like, hey, we're gonna do this caravan run, and then another big streamer that says, oh, I heard this streamer's gonna do, we're getting our stream together and we're gonna go against them, and it's gonna be this huge streamer versus streamer like caravan thing or caravan blitz. It's I'm telling you, like, it's gonna be so much fun for people to watch. And I think that's what's really missing for a lot of MMOs, is because the only compelling things to watch in MMOs now is like gambling things. Like for Lost Ark, the people want to gamba the faceting crap or whatever. And then like other than that, it's like people want to see like, I don't know, transmog runs and mount. It's like it's almost frivolous, like what you actually see, you know, and what's exciting in MMOs. And I feel like castle sieges, like if they can pull off 500 versus 500, bro, that's gonna be nuts. Like Twitch will be I'm telling you, like in another galaxy of nuts, because there's no other game that does that. And for how much minimal lag and how much work they've done in the back end to facilitate, I don't think it was 250 versus 250 in Alpha 1, but it was damn near close to like 120 versus 120. I think it was around that ballpark, maybe a little bit more, I don't know. But I just want to say that any other MMO, I'll just make it to World of Warcraft. Warcraft can't even handle 40 versus 40 in lag. It lags with 40 versus like 80 people in the same screen. When I was watching the Siege,
just tab, right?
Yeah, and just tab, correct. Yeah. You know, and so yeah, I see Ashes, I'm like, oh my god, this is actually like, and maybe it's Unreal Engine 5, maybe it's their engineers are just freaking geniuses and they did a lot of back end work to make sure that the lag is very minimal and just very responsive. But I do want to mention, because you did bring up something real quick, and I just want to ask this real quick. Where do you personally fall in combat? Are you more of a tab person, or are you more of an action combat person?
Ideally action.
Okay.
But I live in the world where we have you know, we have to deal with people being scattered all over the place and having different pings. So I'm all for Steven's hybrid combat kind of idea of having tab and then having good abilities with action, so that we limit the, and even when you do action, have sort of things that are not projectiles, so it's not causing a lot of problems with stressing the server a lot.
Right.
It's actually a big problem is you'll have a projectile, and when you put a projectile on the server, and the server has to calculate, okay, the projectile is going through this area, and if this person is here, then the projectile's causing this much, is causing damage to them, and if it misses, then it's not, and then it has to make the decision of where were you like right, like were you through it, were you not?
Right.
So,
and I guess for me too, and this is just maybe a bias, right? Because I played WoW. WoW is basically, I would say it's a tab game at heart, but there are action abilities. So I would consider it more of a tab enhanced kind of game, because there are abilities that you push and it just hits everything in the vicinity, right? It doesn't really matter. So, and I'm completely fine for that. But the one thing I kind of worry is with these large sieges is that if it was, let's say on the other side of the road of just being completely action based, being a ranger or being something with projectiles, and having that slight lag, that's like really annoying when you need to be precise because you're aiming and you can't, because you have to compensate for the stupid lag that's happening because there's 300 people on your screen. And so I think with having tab, it just makes that a little bit easier, you know, because now the projectile can just follow the target that you already had locked rather than having to aim. So that's sort of my little 2 cents when it comes to it. I played Lost Ark. When it comes to isometric, I'm a huge fan of action. I am not a huge fan of action when it comes to third person MMOs. And I guess it's because I don't know if you ever healed in any MMO that you ever played, but healing in an action-based MMO is not freaking fun, and it's not good, and it never feels good. And I know most people, when they talk action, they always talk about that from a DPS standpoint, you know, and I heal. I love to be a healer from time to time. And I just think healing when it comes to action-based is crap. Like it's so crap. So
yeah, I've had a lot of healers say that to me. It seems like that's the general opinion.
Right.
I've never played. I played Overwatch a little, but
right.
I've been told also that there's some action healing in Overwatch and it feels good. So
Right.
I wouldn't give it up completely, but it sounds like it's going to be pretty hard to make action healing fun for healers.
Right. And I just think predominantly when it comes to like unit frames, stuff like that, like I think it would just be better to have, and again, there's not saying that you can't have some smart healing for like AoE heals that are just like action based, right? But especially when you're trying to single target a tank, or you're single targeting a person who's going to die within this second if you don't heal them, having a target heal is always so much better than having to aim it or any of that weirdness. So I feel like if Intrepid wants to do a hybrid, I'm totally down for it. I think most people are very scared because they just feel like, why don't they just go all action or just go all tab, but I feel like Ashes of Creation is already doing so many revolutionary things that I feel like for them to revolutionize combat is what I think drives people kind of nuts, because combat is so important to so many people. And if combat does not feel good, it doesn't matter that the game's in UE5. It doesn't matter that there's so many other interconnected systems that are fun to play. If combat sucks, the majority of people won't play it. So, combat has to feel fluid. It has to feel good. And I just feel coming from a hybrid side, I don't know, even Guild Wars, people say that people rarely use the action side of Guild Wars' hybrid system. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say, but again, people usually don't know what they want until they see what they want.
They need to give an incentive to action combat, so that if you do it an action ability, it provides a CC or does a little bit extra damage. Because if you don't do that, then the surefire hit from tab is always going to be preferred over action combat. I think you're preaching to the choir. Everybody knows that if the combat sucks, it doesn't matter that there's a node system,
right? And
there's these caravans and all that. People, like a lot of people, won't play it. That would play the game, and it won't feel as much fun. So they need to focus on that. And I don't think they should ever release the game until the combat feels great. And that's just what needs to be done. And I know some people say they want to play this game no matter what the combat is because it's fun to them, but they're not. In this case, I feel that it's important that they're not the majority, and that I think it's important to get the majority of players feeling like the combat's good.
Right.
I think that's very important.
And I think Steven has said that he's going to stick to the hybrid stance, and ultimately, if it doesn't work, he says that we're going to fall back to tab. Because Steven, like I said, all his games he's ever played are all tab. Like that's why I was kind of weirded out in a sense, because I'm like, he was a tab player the whole time. Like, why would he want a hybrid system? And I get it. Like, you're trying to appease like two different audiences, but there's a reasoning why people play WoW, and there's a reason why people play ESO. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's two different audiences. And I think whenever you try to appease two completely different audiences, no one's happy. You know what I'm saying? And it's because, again, it's really hard to find an actual balance that it actually pleases both sides. So, but I do think, and people, can say down in the comments that I'm wrong about this, but I'm not. People are more comfortable with tab. All of the big MMOs are tab. There's millions of people that have played WoW. There's millions of people who play Final Fantasy 14. There's hundreds of thousands of people that play Guild Wars 2 or whatever. All I'm saying is that the majority of people are comfortable with tab. Am I saying that tab is better than action? No. I am saying that people are more comfortable and have more experience with tab. So if they want to capture this general audience, going completely action-based limits a lot of people that are more comfortable with this other system. So again, that's all I'm trying to say, because I've gotten into people with Discord, I've gotten people in the forums or in the Reddit about it, and it's just,
But what I would say is that there are a lot of people who say that because there's open world PvP, or if they don't have action combat, or if it's not precisely the way I want it, I'm not going to play the game.
Right.
And all those people are lying, because they'll play the game if it's a great game.
That's
so they just need to make the combat feel amazing, and the people will come, whether it be tab or action. Although I think they should stick to their hybrid. I think that makes the most sense to me right now.
No, I do too. I think they should really give it an honest to God shot for hybrid first and see where they go. But the majority of people that I knew played in the Alpha 1 did not play action. they played tab. The action just did not feel good.
Well,
so
yes and no. It felt kind of good for tank. I know for mage and cleric didn't feel that good.
Right.
So they need to make it better for mage and cleric because it wasn't as good.
Right.
And they need to give a bonus because, you know, if I'm a mage and I can choose between a tab basic attack and an action basic attack, well, if they're to give the same exact things, then I'm always going to choose tab because it's a surefire hit. And if you're not doing that, then you're not in my raid and you're not gonna PvP with me.
That's right.
So, you know, they have to actually give a reason why you should play action combat in a lot of these classes.
So this is something that, of course, has been on the minds of everybody in the community right now is, you know, when is Alpha 2? So in your mind, like, and I've said it, I've gone on record, or there's videos of me saying this, that I believe the summer. I think internally, when Alpha 1 was finished in August of last year, I think internally they were gunning for summer. Now, internally that could have changed. You know, like I said, internally 2 years ago, they wanted to have Alpha 1 in, what was it, third quarter of 2020? Like Steven was saying in Osmond's Gold's interview in July of 2020, saying, oh yeah, we're getting ready for Alpha 1 probably towards the end of the year. And, you know, that got delayed like 7 times. So my whole stance on it is if they don't release Alpha 2 in the summer, we're probably not going to get it till January or sometime next year. So I'm just curious where you stand when it comes to the Alpha 2 release.
So I think we have a mutual friend who I won't name who has provided the internally they're trying to aim for the summer.
Right.
But I personally think that we haven't gotten the spot test yet.
Right.
I haven't seen anything relating to a lot of these systems. I think the only thing we've seen is the nodes developing roads as the node develops. We need to see a lot more. We need to see the caravans. We need to see all the crafting system. They were just talking about how the animal husbandry system was going to work, which means that they haven't actually done anything with the animal husbandry system yet that they're hoping to test, or they haven't shown us anything. There's so many things. We haven't seen the combat. I wish I could put money on it because I think betting tells people, okay, put your money where your mouth is, you know.
Right.
If you actually believe this, you know, put some money on it. But I've predicted it'll be in February of next year. Off of my completely baseless guess, based off of my hunch. Yeah.
Well, and you see that it makes sense, right? You know, to be totally honest, like I feel like, especially with at the end of the year, for many years now, they always announce something major at the end. This year, or this past year, was UE5, you know? And so my whole thing is, what better announcement to say at the end of the year than to give an official date for Alpha 2? So in my whole mind, if they don't have spot testing soon and we don't get in the Alpha 2 in the summer, we're gonna wait. Like, look how long we waited to even see the character creator. Steven in December was saying, oh yeah, guys, next month in January, we're gonna show you guys the character creator. That got delayed 3 months. Or 3 more months from when they were talking about it then. So, and that was just a character creator. This is Alpha 2. Like, this is the big thing that people are waiting for. The thing that, especially because of it being persistent, that's the thing that a lot of people are looking forward to, is the fact that once they get Alpha 2, they'll be online in Ashes of Creation every single day until the game releases.
That's the one piece of hopium I have, is that since it's persistent, they don't have to release the Alpha 2 with everything in it.
Right.
Like, they might not have to have all the gathering professions in it yet.
Right.
So we'll see.
Right. And I think with Alpha 2, right, because there's like, if you go to the wiki and it actually shows you like they're wanting to have at least 80% of the systems online in Alpha 2. But I think there's other things that we can kind of compensate. Like, do we need to have the Tornal race in Alpha 2 at the very start? No. Do we need to have all the classes? No. Like, I'm down for 6 out of the 8 personally, you know, especially if we're going to start at level 35 off the, you know, that's what Steven said, right? That they're
next level, yeah.
Considering, you know, it's not for sure, but they're considering level 35 at the start and then sort of just going from there, right? You know, I just think what people really want is to, first off, start testing, start making sure
play.
Well, they want to play. you know, and they also want to see this world that they've created in UE5, you know. But here's the other thing, and I don't know if you might agree with me on this, but I feel like, and this is why I kept on saying in summer, is after Alpha 1, I think the whole Intrepid team had a meeting. And again, this is just my speculation. I haven't talked to anybody, but I think they had a meeting, and Steven says, we need to switch our stuff here, and we need to under promise and we need to over deliver, because right now we've been over promising and completely missing our delivery dates, you know. And so I think the reason why we've been getting hardly any information really, and it's been like this trickle in of information, is because they've been slowly working very hard to that way when they do announce something officially, like it's like the character creator, it's like, holy Jesus Christ, like this is insane, you know. And I think that's what they want to do for Alpha 2. I think the last thing they want to do is say, oh guys, Alpha 2 probably going to be in third quarter, and then third quarter comes, Alpha 2's not there. Oh guys, fourth quarter for sure. Does not happen. We go into first quarter of next year. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want to be in that thing because we were already there before and it sucked. I mean, hell, I wasn't in. I was playing WoW at the time, but just looking at the Discord, people were so disappointed every single time they delayed it. And they're like, God, you promised Intrepid, you set this date, like what happened? And then Steven has to basically say, guys, like, and like shit happens, you know, like, yeah, like you find a bug in the system and you don't want to, like, because the entire time you be testing it, that bug is there and everyone's gonna be like, guys, why did you not fix this bug? It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't appease everybody. So I guess my whole question, do you believe that? Do you think they kind of switch their whole terms when it comes to under promising but over delivering?
Absolutely. I mean, you don't need to speculate on that. I don't know if they had a meeting, but
right.
You know, this game was supposed to release in 2020, I believe, according to Steven.
Right.
And now he's not providing any dates, so he's learned his lesson, basically. All we can tell.
Right. And so I guess the one question that I kind of always leave people with, right, is why do you believe in Ashes of Creation? Some answers are the same from people, other answers are different. But I mean, I feel like the passion you have to write these amazing forum posts, and I hope to God Intrepid looks at them because they are freaking invaluable to the community at large. And whether people agree or disagree, you put in the work, you know, and I'm glad it's there. And I really want to see the one you did on Sieges because I have not seen that. But I am going to post your forum posts, your popular ones in the description below. So if you want to go check out his forum posts, they will be there. So
well, thank you. That'll give them a lot more attention. Maybe.
Yeah, for sure, man.
The reason I believe in Ashes of Creation is because of Steven, because he's putting in the money. Right. It seems like they're making a lot of money where they can hire the devs so they can create the great game. He has the vision. He's not doing it for profit. He's doing it. Intrepid is a privately owned company. He doesn't have to listen to any shareholder who wants the game to be released unfinished or not to put in a complex system. Okay. Steven and Intrepid Studios have given all of us the indication that they are going for a great game. And that's enough for me. And the other part of it is that I'm sick and tired of just bad games or semi-good games. I want to play a game with a great amount of my friends in a new world where I can just be immersed and play it for thousands upon thousands of hours and not get tired and just look back on it 10 years from now and say, it was worth it. Okay.
Oh, right.
It was worth it.
I mean, for me,
that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, me playing WoW for 15 years, I mean, golly, it's really weird to say that almost the majority, like half of my life almost was dedicated to this MMO. And honestly, like, I want to dedicate that same amount to Ashes. Like, I would love to play Ashes of Creation for the next 15 years and have that be, you know, maybe not my last MMO, but, you know, damn near my last MMO when I'm in my 50s and stuff like that. Like, I think
but when you retire, then you have all the time to play MMOs.
I know that's gonna be so great when that happens. But I mean, either way, like I'm so glad someone like Steven did what he did, because I mean, right now, if Ashes wasn't a thing, like people probably would have been still getting scammed by Chronicles of Valyria or like some other Kickstarter, you know, BS MMO scam or whatever. And I think all of the MMO properties that are being created now are just, they're completely uninspired. And I know people have a lot of hope into this Riot MMO that Riot's developing with Greg Street as their lead game designer, but I mean, we haven't even seen anything. We don't even know when that MMO is even going to be released. We don't even know anything about it, you know. So
that MMO will just follow a model, which will probably mimic WoW or something.
Of course.
And, you know, because they want to
go the safe route.
Yeah, they want to go the safe route. I know that Riot has a lot of freedom given to them by Tencent, but I think looking at Valorant and other kinds of their games,
right?
You know, I don't think they're gonna give us the kind of groundbreaking MMO that Ashes is going to be.
Right.
I honestly don't believe it. If I'm proven wrong, great, because it's healthy for the genre.
No, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to say that I'm Team Ashes. I'm against Team Riot. I want Riot to succeed. I want every MMO to get better. Like, I want World of Warcraft to get better. But I mean, just be more realistic. Like, it's hard to have that hope whenever there's shareholders involved that says, I need more money. You know, because ultimately that's what makes the games terrible for us, and they become these gerbil wheels of dailies and daily login rewards, and like, oh, you got to do this to get this, and blah 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 blah. Like, and it's not fun, and it feels like a job. And gaming should never feel like a job. It should feel like you're spending your free time doing something you enjoy with you and your boys. And that's what I think Ashes is going to bring back.
Yeah, cheers to that, man.
Well, dude, honestly, thank you so much for doing this 1v1 with me, man. Like, I know it's been really challenging for me to actually get like just people to like come on my 1v1s, because, you know, I'm a small content creator and stuff like that, but I always enjoy talking to people, and especially someone like you. A lot
of potential for more views. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, I always enjoy just talking to people that are very passionate about Ashes, because there's just always different reasons as to why they are passionate for the game, you know. And I just love your very analytical posts. I think they're, like I said, they're invaluable to the community, and I really can't wait to get into Alpha 2 and start testing with you, man. That's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. The last thing on the posts is that I think there's very little chance that they will have any impact on the game at all. I understand that. I don't care. I just make my own content right now, waiting for Ashes of Creation.
Right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hey, give it a like, share it around with your friends. My name is Vlhadus. This is my boy Goalid, and we will see you guys. Goalid, sorry. We will see you.
You had it right the first time.
I know. Goalid. It's my boy Goalid. And we will see you guys in the next one. Later, guys.